Hello everyone, we should be live. This is my second attempt to go live because the first one I just talked to myself for 3 minutes before realizing that I wasn't actually live. How are you? I hope you guys are doing good. I will be doing this is part 2 of the July AMA stream because part 1 we did about 4.5 hours of streaming and still hadn't answered all the questions. So we're gonna do a part 2. I think we got about 2/3 of the way through last time, so this time we have the last third of the questions. And there's 144 questions total. So yeah, that's 2 streams worth of questions. I think in the future, some of you guys have suggested that I just intend to do 2 separate streams. I think that's a good idea, considering the number of questions that we tend to get lately. I think 2 AMA streams a month is going to be a good way to go. And yeah, sorry, my room's messy again. I'm like getting ready to move. So you know that there's like a point when you get ready to move when like it stops being worth your while to improve your surroundings, because you know that you know, any moment now, you know, you've just given up on the notion of this being a good apartment, right? Everything, all my like decorating and cleaning impulses are being directed at the next place. And yeah, I put my hair in a weird bun. I'm hoping that keeps me from neurotically touching my hair the whole stream. Weird bun stream. Hello, little buns. Welcome to my home. Okay, what am I doing? What was the last question last time? I keep looking through this. I'm like, okay, I think we said that it was copy. Okay, we did the serial killer question. Tara Gronewold said hi from the coast of Canada. I remember that one. Copy. I don't think we did copy. Let me just double check this. I'm glad you guys approve of Weird Bun stream. Okay, I was correct. Okay, so copy says, the stream begins here. Hello, I've been getting into a lot of discussions about Jordan Peterson with a friend of mine, and I was wondering if you could recommend any introductory books on postmodern philosophy. I've pointed out that Peterson doesn't understand postmodern philosophy, but I don't know much about it either, and so I just parrot points made in videos like yours or Cuck Philosophy. Yeah, so the thing is about that is that there are some very good and genuine criticisms of postmodern philosophy, and one of those criticisms, in my opinion, is that a lot of those theorists just had no interest whatsoever in writing in an accessible way. So as a result, the only people who can fucking read this shit are humanities graduate students, and even then, a lot of them have no idea what they're saying. So you know, it's just kind of an inherently elitist, inaccessible thing. And you know, so some of these people, there's been a lot of like debate about the inaccessibility of postmodernism. This goes back to like the 90s. Like the I guess people in the sciences, they love to bring up this thing called the Sokal affair, where this scientist called Alan Sokal published a hoax article in a like postmodern opinion journal, and you know, people use it as evidence that like, oh, you know, this whole field is just bullshit. I mean, I don't think the whole field is bullshit, but I do think that it is, you know, it is genuinely like more inaccessible than it needs to be. And I do think it's incredibly pretentious. And I think that, you know, I've heard people like, so Judith Butler wrote this article about how you need a radical language. You need a radical way of writing to express radical ideas. And so this was supposed to justify being this incredibly obscure writing style. I don't really buy it. I think that any idea worth expressing can be expressed in ways that a normal person can understand. And you know, I get that there's some reason why you might want to write like a physics paper. You know, it's hard to write a quantum physics paper in a way that a normal person can understand because it relies on so much presupposition. But like I'm thinking about you know, so Foucault. I actually so of all these people, I like Foucault the best. And I think that his books are extremely interesting, but they could be a lot clearer. And there's this, I mean, part of the issue also is that like people translate from French into English. And so some of the like, I don't know, some of the English is just awkward, I think, as a result of people trying to like invent all these icity nouns to correspond to the icité ones in French, which I just find really irritating to read. I'm rambling already. Question one, and I'm already off the topic. Your question was if there is a good introductory book on postmodern philosophy. There's a series of books called Very Short Introduction. I think there is one to postmodernism that I think I vaguely remember reading in like 2013. Yep, there's a book called Postmodernism, A Very Short Introduction by Christopher Butler. You could try that. You could try reading the article about postmodernism on Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. But it sounds like that when you're talking, you know, when you're talking with a Peterson bro, they are not even really Jordan Peterson doesn't really engage with postmodern philosophy. Like Jordan Peterson does not act like he hasn't read any of this himself. Jordan Peterson has not read, I'm quite sure he's not read Foucault and he's not read Derrida. When he says postmodernism, he tends to mean something, he means like SJWs, right? He's talking about campus activists. He's talking about, you know, what he calls like the kind of like HR, you know, bureaucracy and this stuff, because he's claiming that like American workplaces have been taken over by postmodern, you know, identity politics. And that's not really, you know, I would really suggest reading just like summaries of the work of Judith Butler and of Foucault and of Derrida and stuff like that. And then you'll sort of be able to think, I think, more critically about what Jordan Peterson is saying. Because Jordan Peterson is, so what Jordan Peterson is critiquing is this kind of like activist language of, you know, identity politics, where everyone is, Jordan Peterson particularly doesn't like the, you know, the division of everyone into these groups, sort of oppression categories, and the like intersectional dialogue about how, you know, different people are oppressed in different ways based on these different systems, and how, you know, there can be microaggressions in the workplace that target trans people, whatever. Well, a lot of postmodern philosophers actually are kind of also not really very compatible with that kind of identity politics. In fact, this is a common leftist criticism of postmodernism, is that postmodern philosophers like, again, Butler or Derrida or Foucault, like, they're all about like deconstructing these identities and destabilizing them, like showing, for instance, that the category of, you know, what is a man, what is a woman, like that they're actually, these categories are sort of artificial, or so they're sort of like linguistic constructs, and they are sort of situational or so on. And so a lot of activists, you know, I remember being in like academic feminism seminars or whatever with like feminists who just hated this stuff. They just hated the postmodernism because they thought like it completely undermines our ability to organize, and it completely undermines our ability to politically advocate for our identity, for our group, right? If we've problematized the concept of womanhood, then how are we supposed to politically organize as women, right? So that's the like identity politics argument against postmodernism. The Jordan Peterson argument against postmodernism is, I don't like it when women complain or something like that, right? It's that he although he says something a little bit similar, I guess he'll say that it's incoherent to try to like I guess decide on a finite number of these sort of oppression categories, like the ones about gender and sexual orientation and race, and also there's privileges to being young and privileges to being old and privileges to having money and privileges to, I don't know, being talented. I mean, and I think, okay, that's a kind of a fair enough point, but I also think that the way this is generally used is kind of to shut down like any form of feminism, or any form of like LGBT activism, any form of black civil rights activism, right? It's not really anything to do with postmodern philosophy at all. Okay, so that was we've just started and I'm already giving 10-minute answers. Todd Pagel says, so that behind the scenes vlogging was a goddamn success, right? Bitch, you're a genius. Bitch, you're an icon. Bitch, you're that bitch. Thanks, Todd. Yeah, I think people liked it. I'm filming the next one already, and I'm super happy that we've finally, there's been a kind of like question mark Patreon reward for a long time that I sort of didn't know what to put in. I'm glad we figured out what it's gonna be, because everyone seems to like the behind the scenes thing, and I can make it without it being too much trouble. So, yay. Mary Murdoch says, hello Natalie, I would really love to know what your most memorable conversation was. Who was it with and what was it about? Oh god. Well, I don't know. It's gonna be hard to choose a single most memorable conversation. I guess in these cases, I should just answer with whatever comes to mind. A memorable conversation. A lot of them I don't necessarily want to share because they involve someone besides me. Let me think. This is proving to be harder than I'd expect. Do conversations with myself count? This question has stumped me. I got nothing. I cannot think of a conversation. I don't remember most conversations. That's sad. Okay, I remember having a conversation with a friend of mine back in like 2015 about what the point of art is, where I guess they were making the argument that it's like purely about expressing yourself. And I was making the argument that it is that it's actually for the audience and not for you. And I think that the reason I bring this one up as memorable is that I think that it kind of influenced the way that I decided to do ContraPoints, where, you know, I do think that like people who make art or make anything creative, really, I think often are they're doing it because they want to express themselves, but purely expressing yourself, that is a diary, right? And people with, you know, it's only 1 in a million diaries that are interesting to read, unless you know the person, or I don't know. I mean, voyeurism is fun, but most diaries are boring. And I find art that is made just to express myself, like, it tends to be really boring. And I think that I don't know, I guess this conversation just brought out my own kind of, it helped me like understand like what I wanted to do as a creator, in that, like, yes, I'm presenting myself, I'm expressing myself, but I'm expressing myself for someone. And so in a sense, I always try to sort of put myself in the mindset of the viewer, and I view myself almost as like a servant of the, well, it's like those letters that like 18th century writers used to write to their patrons, right? like your most signed, your most humble servant, you know, Immanuel Kant or whatever, right? Like, that's kind of how I think of this, is that like ultimately, like, the stuff that I make is for you, even if I myself am the subject of the video. Like videos I've done, like shame or whatever, where like I'm talking about myself, like, it's very carefully put together in a way that I hope it will be interesting to someone besides me. And sometimes I guess I'm more or less successful about, I'm more or less successful at that, but that's what I try to do. And I remember well having these kinds of conversations with a lot of people back when no one was, you know, reading anything I wrote anyway. But I finally figured it out, I guess. Shauna Anderson says, I'm trying so super hard to come up with an interesting question, but I have to be honest and admit that I've got nothing. It's okay. I probably can't think of an answer anyway. So my only slightly interesting question is, have you watched Douglas by Hannah Gadsby? I know from The Darkness that you watched Nanette. Did you /them both? I assume you meant, did you like it /them both? I have only seen one clip from Douglas, which a bunch of people shared on Facebook, and it's the one where she talks about being, like, having autism at school, and the teacher is trying to teach prepositions and like the literal thinking, I guess, produces the comedy. Yeah, I thought that bit was good. Nanette, I have kind of mixed feelings about. I think there's stuff I like about it. I agree with her rant, but I ultimately kind of think that, like, I don't know, a comedy special is somewhat compromised by not ceasing to be comedy halfway through. And like, as much as I do support the point she was making, I guess to me that it's kind of goes to what I was just saying in the answer to the last question. Like, it's not really for the audience at that point. But I mean, I don't know, it's interesting. Like, I'm glad I watched it. I don't know. Those are my thoughts. Stephen Laudig says, what do you think about the Orioles' chances? It's been a horribly long time. Stephen, I have no idea. I don't know anything about baseball, and despite living in Baltimore, I haven't been to an Orioles game since 2016, and I genuinely have no idea what is going on with them. So, thank you for your question. You've asked the wrong YouTuber. I think the Oriole is a very pretty bird. I'll say that much. Orange. It's interesting color. Yeah, they're pretty. That's my opinion about baseball. Okay. Spooky Stew says, hey Natalie, you've referenced Satanism a couple times in your videos, such as Lenora LeVay and Tabby punctuating her speech with Hail Satan. Do you have any thoughts, feelings, perspectives on the Satanic Temple, Church of Satan, or any other satanic shenanigans you have been witness to? Stay spooky. Love ya, babes. So, I have known people over the years who are Satanists. I guess my understanding of it is pretty superficial. I guess the people who I've known that are Satanists are mostly nice people, and my understanding is pretty limited, but what I gather is that, so I forget, so there's like the Satanic Temple, the Church of Satan. I know like one of them is kind of like fascist. There's a bad one and a good one. I forget which is which, but most of the people I've known who are Satanists, like, they really are like secularists who just kind of like the figure of Lucifer as this kind of symbolic, you know, representative of like anti-authoritarianism or something. I don't know. I always liked I really loved Milton's Paradise Lost when I read it, like I don't know, 8 years ago or something like that. And I liked the Satan character because I liked Satan and I liked Eve because I thought that I sort of identified with their anti-authoritarianism and admired the humanity, I guess, of those characters. But I don't really know much about organized Satanism now. Thank you. Kyra says, do you have a special dream or goal for the future? I ask because mine is to live in my own house like you. I couldn't be happier for you, Natalie. Take care and be well. Thank you. A special dream or goal. Well, in a weird way, I feel like I'm a little bit lost in life, in part because I have succeeded at my old goals. And you know, it's kind of a weird situation to be in. to be, you know, at age 31 and be like, well, I kind of actually got the things that I wanted for the whole first part of my life. So what now? And it's so hard to believe this when, you know, it's hard to believe when you want to have money and fame and you don't. It's just impossible to believe that those things won't make you happy. But then when it actually happens and you are not any happier, it really sinks in that being famous or having more money is not going to make you happier. And it really doesn't. It's hard to believe it. It's hard to believe it if you don't have them and those things and you want them. But I don't know. It's genuinely the case for me that I don't know. I'm like not really that happy despite like objectively being very successful. And yeah, of the two, I would say that money is good. Money is great. Fame is bad. If you can find a way to be rich and anonymous, do that. That's a really good idea. So I don't know. Now I'm kind of I spend a lot of time these days thinking like if I have a goal or dream, like you say, it would be to like to have a relationship that's good. But I also wonder if that's gonna be one of those things where like even when I have that and I'm like, still not, there's no magical happiness that it comes now. But and I'll just find a new thing that to blame my being unhappy on. But for the time being, I don't know, I do yeah, so one of the chats says money doesn't buy happiness, but poverty sucks. Yeah, I agree with that. It's money can buy you comfort in your misery. And I guess that's kind of the same way I feel about like my loneliness. Like I think that, you know, love doesn't bring happiness, but loneliness is misery. And so I guess that's the next thing I'm chasing in life, is that I know I've become like a borderline incel, constantly complaining about how I'm alone and no one loves me, blah blah blah. That's just, let me know if that gets irritating. Dave L says, what were some things that surprised you when you were doing academic work? I thought it was hilarious when I found a dick joke in chapter 4 of volume 1 of Capital. How is the house coming? Yes, that's 2 questions, not sorry. Okay, well, the thing that surprised me when I was doing academic work, there's also a dick joke in Hegel in the Phenomenology of the Spirit. It's not very funny. Yeah, I what surprised me when I was doing academic work, God, it's hard to me to think back to being surprised by anything from back then. I guess what surprised me is that there's like genuine idiots at the highest levels of academia. Like there's no point in there's no, like, you can get a PhD from Harvard and still have like be surrounded by dum-dums. Like there's just no echelon of society where you stop being surrounded by imbeciles. It just never got there. So that kind of surprised me. I don't know, I guess I just thought that everyone would be a genius at a certain level. It's not true. There's geniuses who work minimum wage jobs, and there's morons who teach at Harvard. So that's another thing. Just another disappointment, you know. The house, well, no progress has been made since the last stream, but I'm basically not able to move for another month or so, so I'm going to be here for a little longer. Eli Yerman says, I'm working on a 3-hour call-out video titled Natalie Wynn is cancelled and problematic. Says every month that she needs an assistant but doesn't return my emails or DMs applying to be an assistant. Mostly kidding. Love you. Can't wait for the next vid. Thank you, Eli. Yeah, we kind of addressed this in the last stream. The last stream, that I do appreciate you guys offering to be my assistant, but I'm also afraid of people, and I'm afraid to actually bring anyone into my life who knows me from my videos, because I don't trust anyone, and I'm paranoid, and I'm scared of the internet. Is fucking terrifying to me, to be honest. At this point, I'm like, I've had enough experiences that, like, I'm just afraid. I'm afraid of online, and I come in here and I pretend that I'm not afraid of you guys, but I'm afraid of all of you. I'm afraid of everybody. That it's why I have trouble hiring anyone, and it's also why I have trouble dating. Those two things, like, I can't seem to do it because they require trust, and I have trouble like trusting that people who want to be in my life aren't trying to like get something, aren't trying to like use me. And I'm like sure that's like not the vast majority of you. I'm sure it's not you, Eli. I'm just saying like why I haven't been super like eager to hire fans in the same way that I'm like not super eager to date fans. But at the same time, that's the easiest way for me to meet people by far. And like a lot of the people who want to have anything to do with me at this point already know who I am. So it's like it sucks because it's like I don't want to, you know, I guess I need to find people who like they know about me, but who they know about me, but they aren't like mega fans. Like they respect what I do, but are not like, but are like chill, you know? Because that's got to be a lot of people, right? There's got to be chill people who watch my videos, but are not like, don't have like a shrine to me in their basement. Mariah Sherman says, in previous Emmys, people make lots of references to your older work. Personally, I think your new work has been absolutely amazing. Loving the feature-length, beautifully choreographed and styled videos. You have evolved like all good artists do, and just keep getting better and better. How long does it normally take to choose your style/costume for a segment? Much love. Mariah, you're saying all the right things to me. This is exactly the comment I want to hear. How long does it take to choose a style/costume for a segment? It takes a long time, honestly. It actually takes a long time. There's going to be some time devoted to this in the next behind the scenes video that I'm working on. But I'm doing a very, like, the video I'm working on now, in terms of like the look / set wardrobe decisions, it's all really very simple, but it's actually turned out to be super complicated. And I've had to buy so many different things that then don't work, and I have to buy other things. It's like, it's hard actually. So I would say, I mean, the shopping for a video, it's often like 20 hours of shopping, which sounds like a joke, like I tell people about it. I have to get to work. I have to go do shopping for this video. And people are like, oh, poor you. It must be really hard doing shopping. And like, I do enjoy it. It is lucky that that's part of my work, but like it does take time. Like it is like in time intensive. It is genuinely work to do the shopping for a video. And I would say what takes time? Yeah, shopping takes time. Building the set takes time. Costume stuff, I mean, if I'm styling wigs, that takes time. And like in the last one, in Cringe, I should have filmed this for the behind the scenes in that one, because that would have been interesting. I spent a lot of time like aging. You can't even really tell on screen, but I think subtly it makes an impact. Like everything I kind of weathered. So the circus jacket is, it looked very costumey when I got it. And so what I did is I like sprayed like coffee all over it, and I like burned parts of it, and like, like rubbed it against concrete and rubbed it with sandpaper, basically trying to create the look of like a circus jacket that has actually been worn in the circus for a couple years and is covered in like dirt and like scratches and things. And like I had that whip, that leather whip. I did the same thing with that, with sandpaper and on the concrete outside on this, I kind of aged it. So that stuff takes time. I styled that wig myself. I mean, the makeup for a look like that takes more than an hour, probably 2 hours. So other looks are much more simple. The last video, it was a lot of work. I had to hang all those little lanterns. Yes, I literally was standing outside my apartment whipping the concrete. Yes, that's what I did. Okay, Yoko Netterman says, Dear Natalie, thank you so much for your encouragement last month. It made a difference in my heart. Thank you, Yoko. I'm glad. My alternative job description is Clinical Research Associate, Voyager and Chaser of Doctors Hiding in the Wards, Friend of the Nurses, High-Heeled Heavy Binder Carrier, GCP Specialist, Looking Healthy After Working 70 Hours a Week. Thank you, God, for the makeup. Doctor, please sign this document. There. No, not there, here. It's a good job for inclusion if anyone is interested. Also, are you a bit happy somewhere in your heart these strange days? Love you. Thank you, Yoko. I'm doing better than I was a few months ago. I will say that. Now that I'm no longer standing outside my house whipping concrete, that's really contributing to my sense of sanity and well-being. I don't know. I feel like I'm on the right track with my life in some ways. Like, I just need to keep working and making progress and not wallowing. And I think that I will be okay someday. That's what I'll say. But I have made things hard for myself. James Cheston says, Hey, how are you, Natalie? What do you think should be the overarching story that the left uses to market its policies to the public? The right still seems to be much better at the PR war, and that worries me. The overarching story. Well, I think the story should be about healthcare and about safety nets and about well, so I think, that's like a massive, massive question, right? Because the left is a lot of things. Like, obviously, okay, the story is economic justice and racial justice and gender justice, and, that's the story, right? But I think that the thing to focus on is kind of like the number of people who go bankrupt in this country because they can't pay a medical bill. That's very relatable to a huge number of people. And I think that the eat the rich stuff should be toned down. I don't think it's helpful. I think that most people want prosperity and security and safety. And the best way, but it's worth pointing out that, like, well, think about like what I was talking about in my last video about how, like, I feel like like most other people in America, am one accident away from bankruptcy and financial ruin. Like, why should it be that way? It doesn't have to be that way. It's not like that in a lot of other countries. Like, we shouldn't have, people shouldn't have to constantly, it shouldn't cost, you shouldn't be afraid to call an ambulance because you can't afford it. Like, this is just not. Why would anyone want to live in a country like that? I don't know. I feel like it's a very universal story. I don't know. That's just the first thing off the top of my head. Your question is so overarching. What should be the overarching story? I think it's a lot of little stories, really, but that's one I would definitely focus on. God damn it, I have to pee already. I've been streaming less than an hour and I already have to pee. Okay, fine. I'm just gonna do it because I'll be happier. Be right back. Okay. Lee Marsh says, "Hi Natty, hope you're well." Thank you. This is probably a stupid question. Oh, we love stupid questions. But at the beginning of your video, Beauty, your face is bruised and bandaged. Is that makeup or the real after effect of your FFS? Well, I'm flattered by your question because it is makeup. And that was a fun makeup day. Basically what I did is I used like some bandages the Ace bandages that I had to use after the surgery, and then I used I put like a Vaseline around my eyes to make everything look kind of wet, and I used like purple and yellow eyeshadow all over to make it look like bruises. And you know, I'd recently actually looked like that, so I sort of had a reference image. And then I made some fake blood, which I make with food coloring and powdered sugar. And I added the like dried blood around my nose because there was always dried blood around my nose when I was recovering. So I made it look. I'm happy with the makeup because I think that a lot of people thought it was real, and I was like, I can do special effects makeup. So yeah, that was all makeup. The actual swollen face I had was like, it was more swollen, you know, because I think that's the giveaway, is that my face the swelling was down and it was just the pure bruises. So I also looked kind of like a little prettier. You know, it was kind of like fashionably bruised and bloody, as opposed to like just a straight up swollen mess. Tamsin Artworth says, "Halo Nat. Love you and what you do. have you managed to get a bit of piano time recently? If not, will you? Chopin Opus 9 number 1 or 2? I cried the last time number 1 played on your stream. I hope you're well and the stream is going well. People in the chat, please spam hearts now. Well, I'm a huge fan of number 1, yeah, obviously, and so I do like playing that. I have been playing piano a lot, actually, and I've been, like, seriously, I've been playing like 2 hours a day, like, for the last few months, and I think I'm actually getting to a point where I feel like I'm on the precipice of actually being better at piano than I've ever been before, and it's something that I definitely want to keep doing, but I also think I've been playing it so much because it's like, well, it's like a kind of sublimation, right? like you if you know you're not dating, you have to like channel your like erotic energy into creation, right? So that's to me what music is. I think I remember reading an article with Lady Gaga in Vanity Fair in 2010 where she said that she doesn't have sex because she doesn't want to drain her creative life force. I think that's probably nonsense, but I do think that, like, when I'm unfulfilled in that respect, I like playing music helps me, like, because it's like a way of directing some psychic energy. This sounds really new age nonsense, but I don't know. It's a thing that I feel. Why is everyone typing hearts in the chat? Yeah, I should do a piano stream. I will someday. I want to get a new piano, actually. Lady Gaga no fap. Yes, you people don't even realize that Lady Gaga started the no fap movement in 2010. I believe in sexual energy transmutation. It's called sublimation. I think it's real. Oh wait, the question asks, how did I not register? That's the question in the chat. Said please spam hearts now. I just completely like tuned that out. Alicia Crawford says, Nat, here's a softball for this month. What's a thing that you don't enjoy, but your friends love, so you do it anyway just to be nice or hang out? Let's see. Karaoke. I cannot sing, so I don't like karaoke because my voice is garbage, but I will go along with it because other people like it, and I have friends who are good at singing, so obviously they love it. I'm happy to get drunk and listen to my friends sing. But I don't try to sing unless I'm really drunk, and then if I'm really drunk and trying, then it's just bad. I'm sure there's a lot of people who feel that way about karaoke. John Lee Colishaw says, Hi Natalie, hope you are keeping dangerous and sickening. My question is, there seems to be a narrative that even though in both the US and the UK right-wing governments are in power, the loony left is controlling everything, culling everyone's speech and spoiling everyone's general fun times. Do you think the narrative serves those in power well, and until it's shattered the left will really struggle to win elections? I think that, like, the loony left taking away your fun, I mean, that's been a thing since the 90s, like, people have been saying. And I think that, I don't know. I don't think that's like. I feel like that's a thing that conservatives say is the reason that they're conservatives, but that it's not actually the reason they're conservatives. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like that's. But I do think that I think it's not necessarily at the level of elections, but I do think that a lot of people sort of culturally don't want anything to do with the left because because it sucks, you know, like because it's so hostile and so negative and unpleasant that like most people are going to want to avoid it socially. I mean, I know I avoid the left socially. I don't want to associate with leftists. I don't want to hang out in leftist spaces. It's miserable. Why would you want to do that? I don't know. It pushes people like me away. But I don't know that it pushes conservatives away. I think conservatives are already away. So it's probably not the answer you're expecting, but the narrative, the loony left is controlling everything. Well, yeah, the idea that they're controlling everything, yeah, that's crazy. I think that I don't know. I think that's something that people perceive. Again, it's like the kind of Jordan Peterson stuff about like HR departments and you know, YouTube terms of service or whatever. That's what that people are talking about. And it's true that there is like a disproportionate influence of, you know, somewhat left-wing thinking in certain of those areas. I don't know. I'm not a centrist ideologically, but I am a centrist socially. I can't. I'm not a leftist socially. I don't want to hang out with leftists. Can't stand it. I'm not sure that really answered your question, John, but I said what came to mind. Oh yeah, there's angry people on the right too. Absolutely. The further you get to any kind of political extreme, the more people become sort of angry and obsessive, and the more difficult it can be to be around if you're not also sharing that, you know, participating in that type of behavior. I'm also being a little bit ironic when I say that I don't want to be around leftists. Like, obviously, like, a lot of my friends are leftists, but they're good ones, you know? It's like, but I don't want to, I don't know. I don't want to be on leftist Twitter. I don't want to be on leftist Discord servers. I don't want to go to meetings. You know, it's just not my thing. Well, yeah, that is the problem. That is the thing about people in the center, right? Is that they're complacent people, which makes them pleasant to be around. Maybe it's bad politics, but it's attractive. RSS says, "Hello, Natalie. Congrats on the house. Thank you. Buying a house is super stressful. Are you made of cake? Or if you refuse to answer that, what's your favorite cocktail?" Favorite cocktail? Let's see. There's kind of a few that I go back to. I really like margaritas. Like classic like margaritas, like just like tequila, triple sec and lime. With salt. I like gin and tonics. Bombay Sapphire. I like espresso martinis. Because I like to get fucked up when I get woked up. Or, you know, however words work. If Life is a Leaf says, your videos are unusually thoughtful and incorporate a lot of personal insight. They also have great production value and are entertaining. And I noticed that you and some others, like Ollie, Thorne, and Harris, have started putting out less than a video each month. Are you feeling like you've said much of what you want to? Do you feel like there is some endpoint for YouTube? If so, do you have an exit plan, and what is it? No, actually, not for the time being. I mean, I think that my my decreased output lately is actually something that I'm very dissatisfied with, and I'm trying to correct. So I think it's a product of a couple things. One is that I think the genre of video essays, largely because of me, because I was like one of the ones like really driving in this direction, it's become this like overly baroque thing. And I guess I just think that it's gotten to the point where to make a video like that, it just takes too long. And I'm not satisfied making a video every 2 months. It's not enough. So I think my goal for this year is to try to find a way to make videos more frequently. I would kind of like to go back even to like once a month. I think that's a good pace. But that means no 90-minute videos. You can't make a 90-minute video in a month. And well, the video that I'm making now it's gonna be like a part 1, part 2, like mini series kind of thing. And I think that's one way I can kind of be more frequent with the uploads, you know, and do shorter videos without like reducing the complexity of the thinking. And I think that I also just kind of need to learn to work more efficiently. Like I could hire an assistant editor, but I think that it's also partially my fault for being like a real procrastinator with the writing. And my like work-life balance is just like not really well fine-tuned. It's like not really tuned at all, really. Like when I'm working on a video, like when I'm doing the filming and editing, I'll do nothing but work like 16 hours a day for like 2 or 3 weeks. Not 3 weeks, but like 2 weeks. And then after that, I'll be so tired that I will do nothing for 2 or 3 weeks. And that's not good either. So I feel like if I could like work consistently, like if I could actually make myself work like 8 hours a day or 10 hours a day or whatever, and then never do 16-hour days, that would be better than these like long periods when I'm doing nothing, followed by periods where I'm doing nothing but work. You know? I don't know if that'll actually help me be faster, but I kind of think it will. But yeah, I'd like to go back to making, like for a while I was making half-hour videos. I want to go back to half-hour videos. I agree, that's a good amount of time. 20 minutes is too short, I think. But like 30 to 40 minutes, that's kind of what I'm going to try to keep it to. 90 minutes is crazy. We've got to stop with the 90-minute videos. No more of that. Unless, I think maybe every once in a while, when I really feel like the topic justifies it, and I feel like doing like, you know, a magnum opus or whatever. But I think that the average video should not be more than 40 minutes. And I'm going to try to do more content that I can, you know, prioritize videos that I can make a little more quickly. So no, there's no exit plan. I intend to continue doing this and hopefully do even more of this. Benedict Marcos says, can you promise us to take a vacation when you realize your body and or mind need it? Yes. Thank you, Benedict. Alejandra Herrera says, with an eviction crisis looming in the next 2 months, where, for instance, 42% of Maryland renters are at threat of eviction, and nationwide between 20 to 60 million people are at threat of eviction with no aid in sight, not including the inevitable foreclosures, what do you think the political fallout is going to be? I'm placing my money on the protests for Black lives getting even bigger, since this crisis will affect Black and Indigenous people of color the most, and more people willing to throw down with police and feds. Yeah, so I predict that either the government has no choice but to bail people out, or there's going to be a revolution. Like full on like war in the streets. So I hope that is the former, and I hope that, like they've been so willing to bail out banks and corporations, the government bails out renters and keeps people in their houses. Because if you have 40% of people, if you have, I mean, even if you had 10% of people evicted, I think you're going to have a violent revolution of some kind. And I think that what I mean by that is what you're saying. Much like the current protests, except much bigger and more aggressive. Because people with nowhere to go, that's you know, like we talked about in the last stream, like that's what produces revolutions. Is people desperate with nothing left to lose. And evicting 10 to 40% of the population would be a great way to make that happen. So this is something I try not to think about too much, because like there's no point in like, I don't know, dwelling on this. I don't know, maybe I should be thinking about it a little bit more, but I absolutely think that this is the thing that's gonna kind of like be the breaking point if something isn't done about it. I think that, I don't know, it's a question of how delusional. Maybe what the Trump administration is planning to do is basically instigate a revolution and then use it as a pretext for a police state. That's a very real possibility. So yeah, that's entirely I think that probably the likeliest option, in fact, is that 10% of people get evicted. There is mass protest and violence in the streets, and that mass protest and violence is used as a pretext for increasing authoritarianism, increasing police power, and generally destroying freedom and democracy. If that's kind of what I'm expecting to happen in the next 6 months. So I mean, what do you even say about this? like like what do you even say? I hope that America thrives, and I really, if Donald Trump isn't gone, if Donald Trump isn't removed in November, I genuinely think this country is fucked. Like, more fucked than we have ever been. And the possibility that could really happen is like looming larger every day. So I honestly, I just try not to think about it most of the time, because it's so, I feel so helpless in the face of this that it's just, you know, when I do think about it, I just lie in bed all day and I'm just like, and don't do anything. And I do spend a fair amount of time doing that. You know, there's a reason why it's taking me so long to make this video. Part of it is that I feel, I don't know what it is. It's a combination of, it's a kind of like sickness that I feel like I have almost, where, I don't know, I've seen some people attributing this like being lingering COVID symptoms too, because I did have COVID, you know, for 4 months ago, 3 or 4 months ago. I don't know, but I find that I feel like I'm in a daze all the time. Like my thinking is cloudy. I have trouble working. I feel like I'm having these nightmares every night. Does anyone else have nightmares all the time now? I have nightmares all the time. Alright, that's all I've got to say about that. Blux says, "What's up, girl? Are there any journalists that you follow across publications / topics / whatever because you like their work so much?" Let's see. Well, I feel like I used to have so many more people like that. I really like Lori Penny. I know she's a kind of an essayist as much as a journalist, but I really have always loved her writing. Or for I've been a fan for years, and I still will read anything she writes. Who else? No one else is coming to mind. Well, Lori Penny. I love Lori Penny. She was supposed to do a profile of me, and she actually interviewed me for it, but it fell through, sadly. I'm supposed to be finding a publication for that. I wonder if that's still a thing that could happen. I don't know. It might have been ruined by me being canceled. Yeah, I can't sleep either, but that's pretty normal for me. I take a Benadryl every night to fall asleep. James Garcia says, "Love your work and hope you're well." Thank you. In your video canceling, you talk about far-right people posing as communist anarcho-socialists on Twitter. Do you know if this is actually happening? And if so, what is your experience with it? I can tell you I have seen some accounts on Twitter that are very, very obviously right-wing people pretending to be leftists. Now, it's one of those things where, like, you notice it when it's obviously happening. But are there cases where it's not obvious? Where they're doing a good... Because if they're doing a good job impersonating leftists, then how would you know? It's the kind of thing that they do also. So it wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me at all if there was some of that, a certain amount of that going on. But I can't really prove that it's happening or that it isn't happening. It's just something that's in the back of my mind as a possibility. And so I distrust anonymity on the internet in general. If I don't know who someone is, I really don't know who they are. I don't know why they're saying the things they say. You just don't know. There's no way to know. And I think that anonymity, regardless of context online, whether you're 4chan, whether you're Twitter, wherever you have anonymous users, it produces people who kind of behave in ways that, you know, where there exists a non-accountability, the sort of accountability of being non-anonymous. You know, people behave differently. Rachel Ann says, "How do you feel about Lindsay Ellis counter-programming your AMA with her Q&A spectacular? Any questions for Lindsay?" I assume this was you asked this question Was she doing it for Friday? Was Lindsay doing a stream on Friday? If I have questions for Lindsay, I'll just ask her because we talk all the time still. Lindsay's one of the few friends I've made through YouTube that actually I'm still friends with after many years. A lot of times YouTube friends will kind of come and go. Oh fuck, I need to text her back. That just reminds me. Thank you, Rachel. John M says, talk to us about your Schubert. Fun parts, hard parts. I took the first 2 pages for a little spin. It isn't the worst thing technically, but getting the motif to sound both melancholy and springy at the same time was damn near impossible. Can we hear a little of it sometime? Yeah, I've gotta, I really do want to do, I'm not sure which Schubert you're talking about exactly, but, I do want to, I have been playing, I play the impromptus. They're great. I play a few of them anyway. I really want to, I promise piano content in the future. I think probably I won't do it until I get a new piano. I want to get a nice piano because I don't know, I've been playing piano for 22 years. I think I'm probably always going to play, and so it's worth investing in a good one. And then I can turn it, you know, I can turn it into content. The Schubert I've been working on lately is the impromptu number 1 from the Opus 90. It's very beautiful and melancholy and sweet. I don't know, Schubert just gets me. just gets what I'm about, you know? Riley Dosh says, well, I'm late as usual, so this is probably near the end of the stream. No question this month. Just drink water, bitch. Also, congrats on the house. Thank you, Riley. Robin Truth Goodman says, the movie Disclosure and other recent trans cultures celebrate progress and increasing this is progress in quotation marks, an increasing awareness and acceptance of trans issues, particularly relating to children. How do you think that this increasing willingness of liberal parents to support children who are transitioning and other signs of greater cultural acceptance link up to the critique of the general culture of neoliberalism that you've been interested in analyzing? I am not sure exactly what you're talking about, what you're asking about. How do I think greater cultural acceptance of trans people links up to the critique of the general culture of neoliberalism that I've been interested in analyzing? I don't really use the word neoliberalism. So, I don't know exactly what you mean. I think that the increasing willingness of liberal parents to support trans children and other signs of greater cultural acceptance, I think that's progress. I don't think there's any quotation marks at all. Is it complete? No. Is it complicated? Sure. But I think that, you know, on trans issues, like, no question, things have improved in the last 10 years. And I think that it links up with my critique of anti-trans prejudice. I'm just not sure what you're asking. Sorry. David Machiavelsky says, "Hey Gorja, during your last AMA stream and answering a question of Evan Michael, you stated you'd probably make a video in the future about whether or not our society needs to move to a more restorative form of justice. I recently started my job as a prosecutor, and I'd love to hear some of your thoughts on this. Also, have you seen the YouTube videos of female detransitioner Ryan Burns? She's gorgeous, so check it out. Looking forward to new videos." Restorative justice means basically stepping away from punitive models of justice. And I'm actually trying to decide if I want to answer this because, okay, I'll give away that like the video that I'm working on deals with this question a lot. I won't say what the topic is, but I'll just say that this is one of the central issues of the video that I'm working on. So I think rather than answer this question on stream, I'm just going to tell you to wait a couple weeks and then you'll have a whole dissertation on it. Thank you. Stella says, "Hi Gorge. Love you and everything you do. Hope this weekend is good to you." Thank you. I wanted to ask you to share a brunch story. A funny thing that happened, a really divine restaurant with good food, an awkward brunch moment, or whatever. Okay, brunch. The first brunch that comes to mind is a couple years ago. I went to this brunch with Lindsay Ellis and her editor Angie at the Bellagio in Vegas, and it was really good. That's not much of a story, just that we had brunch and it was good. I guess there's no point in talking about Brunchgate. I think it's too bad that brunch is considered this maligned symbol of lazy white leftism. Because brunch is objectively good, god damn it. I'll say this, I really like oysters, so I love like an oyster brunch. Sometimes you get lucky and they have them at a buffet. In Baltimore, well, the best place to get brunch is Miss Shirley's. There's like 2 locations. It's I used to go there a lot. I occasionally get delivery from them. It's like Southern style, like Baltimore brunch. Like you can get. They used to have this. Well, they still do, I assume. They had this like fried oyster eggs Benedict. So good. Luke Osborne says, "Hey Nat, what do you think post-COVID America will look like?" Well, I think once, there's a vaccine and truly it's over, I think people will forget pretty quickly, to be honest. But I do think that there's going to be permanent changes. I think that And as we discussed earlier, I think it's likely that if there's a bunch of evictions, in the next few months, it's likely that there's going to be massive political unrest on a scale that even, the present moment does not capture. And I think it's likely that there will be an authoritarian backlash to that. So I think it's basically going to be hell. And I hope that I'm wrong. I think that best case scenario, things change with public health. Like, I think that wearing face masks will be normalized for the rest of our lives. I think that, people may never be quite as enthusiastic about, certain group activities, like, but I don't know. I used to love going to movies so much, and I miss it so much. I'm really heartbroken by a lot of the like I don't know. I feel like like on Twitter or whatever, like there's so much like shaming of people for wanting to go out to restaurants and stuff. And like, yeah, I get it. Like, it's not a really good idea to do that right now. But at the same time, like, I don't know. I feel like we shouldn't shame people for wanting to, because like it genuinely, I don't know, a lot of people are genuinely suffering right now, and it's not just it's not just like so frivolous, like, oh, I want to get my roots dyed, you know what I mean? It's like, I don't know, life has become much lonelier, and like we're all kind of trapped and like isolated from each other. It's misery. Like, this sucks. Like, fun has been canceled. And like, I think it's okay to be sad about that and angry about that, Like, it's okay to miss happiness, Like, I don't think that makes you a bad person. I think that all of us miss these things. And it's really, it's like really heartbreaking to me, because I don't know, I've lost a lot of friends this year. And it's hard for me to make new ones because I can't do anything. And it's hard for me to date, for all the reasons mentioned. And then on top of that, everything's closed. So it's like, it just contributes to this malaise that I'm in. Like, this just feeling of like, of just being sort of trapped. It's sad. Ellie Hot Sauce says, "Hey Natalie, do you ship Zutara or Katong in Avatar: The Last Airbender?" Well, possibly you may be guessing from my possible mispronunciation of these names. I've not actually really watched Avatar, so feel free to cancel me. I watched the first couple episodes once, but there's not that many like serial, like long shows like that I really will find the time for. HHB says, "Hi Natalie, I decided to edit my question based on your answer to another person's inquiry about working with you as an assistant. So rather, I'll ask how you feel theater could exist online. Do you feel more filmy or theatery? I'm a playwright who's been producing my own plays for 10 plus years, and I've often wondered how I could move online because theater and film energies are very different. I've long believed it's more than taping a live performance and uploading the video. Your work is one of the examples that has inspired me to find my own way to do it. I see so much theater in your work that makes me feel like I could find a home online. So thanks for that. Hope I can send you my online theater vibe someday, moi." Thank you. Well, I'm interested that you think that, because I guess it's not immediately obvious to me why my work is more theatrical than it is cinematic, for example. So I'd be interested to know why it is that you think that you feel my work has theater in it. I mean, I think one of the things that a lot of people like about live theater is an experience of the thing happening in the live in front of you. And I think that live streaming is something that can maybe capture some of that, as well as allow, potentially the possibility of like a kind of interactive element with the audience, which obviously most theater doesn't have, but some theater does. At least it has a little bit of it. And I don't know, I can imagine if you got creative, you could definitely do live theater as a live stream. And then you can bring screens, for instance, onto your stage, whatever that looks like, showing the chat or whatever. Like, I don't know, imagining like a courtroom scene where on stage you have a screen showing what the chat is saying about, I don't know, like a show trial, That's just, I don't know, the first idea that popped into my head when you said internet theater. But, yeah, I think that this is definitely an area that's sort of underexplored and worth exploring. Reihua Wu says, "Why? I don't know. I wish I did." Jacob Michael says, "Hey, Gorge. No question, just wanted to tell you that you rock. Good luck with your upcoming move. House buying seems like a stressful, scary undertaking. Sending you more positive vibes." Oh, thank you, Jacob. Jacob, I've been watching your videos lately. I find them very relaxing, so thank you. Nicole Graham says, "Nya nya nyadali. I'm enjoying watching your Pokemon streams. Any other games you want to stream?" Well, I downloaded Zelda Breath of the Wild, so I could always do that. I always do love doing The Sims. And I need to finish doing Pokemon. I guess I kind of stopped doing that because I was like, ugh, I need to release a video. It's shameful for me to be goofing off playing Pokemon on stream until this video's out. But as soon as this video comes out, I do want to go back to streaming Pokemon. That was kind of fun. That was kind of like a... Yeah, I should go back to doing that because that was kind of like a silver lining thing for the quarantine. It was like a fun quarantine activity that kind of makes you sort of feel like you're with other people. It wasn't too serious. Guys, I'm like really hungry. I had lunch, but I haven't eaten dinner. I kind of think I should just eat a snack and then finish these questions. I think I'll be happier if I do that. But that means we have to take like a 10-minute break. Can we take a 10-minute snack break? Let's take a 10-minute snack break. Okay, I don't know. Well, people watching the recording can figure out where the snack break ends. I'll be right back. Well, I won't be right back. I'll be back in 10 minutes. Oh, okay. Let's see. Um, do I have food in my face? I don't think so. Andrew Powers says, "Hi Natalie, I was curious, did you have any specific inspirations or visual references when creating the character Baltimore, Maryland? Are you a fan in general of that kind of genderfuck drag?" Okay, there's a reason I asked this. This is me. Instagram link. Absolutely love your content and agree with every single thing you've ever said, so please love me back, mother. Thank you, Andrew. Let me look at your Instagram link. Ah, I love. Yeah, I love this. Sorry, I'm just clicking through your pictures. Oh my god. The exposed breasts. Incredible. This is really fun. Yeah, I was inspired by, well, a variety of people. I guess some of the look was inspired by things that I have seen. Yeah, like genderfuck drag or things that I've seen, like some genderqueer people do. I would say that some of the personality was actually based on the character Freckle. Well, the person Freckle, who is a character, I guess, most famously in The Strange and Wondrous. No, it's The Gay and Wondrous Life, isn't it? The Gay and Wondrous Life of Caleb Gallo. Yeah, it's The Gay and Wondrous Life of Caleb Gallo. And Freckle, she's most known for sometimes things that are expensive are worse. But in that clip, that you'll notice that she says the full name Caleb Gallo a lot when she's talking. Let's watch it Let's watch it now. Hang on a second. Okay. Yeah. Now get smaller. There we go.
So I'm hanging out in my apartment. I've got some candles lit. I'm feeling good. I've had 8 glasses of wine.
Gotcha.
And down in the street, I hear these 2 beautiful boys playing. They're skateboarding or doing flips or something. And one of them looks up at me and has the most beautiful face I've ever seen. Asian.
Beautiful.
And you know how I like a little Asian. You remember my
That's a little
David
cringe.
Blaine?
Very well.
The point is I say, woohoo boys, and they sort of look. The one who isn't Asian is black.
You don't have to. This could be a colorblind story.
I want to fill it with color.
Yeah, but I'm just saying it's like there's a race problem in Hollywood right now.
And in America, a racism problem.
I agree.
Well, this story isn't racist, it's diverse. If everyone in it was white, then it would be racist.
Caleb Gallo.
You know what?
Yeah, see, so that that mannerism, that if everyone in it was white, then it would be racist. Caleb Gallo. Like that way of like using someone's full name for kind of mystical emphasis, that inspired like Baltimore, Maryland saying Tiffany Tumbles. right? Like when they're talking to people. So I guess so Freckle inspired some of the mannerisms. Ah! Sorry. Okay. It's a racism problem. Yes. Okay. Thank you, Andrew. Chris Fail says, "How do you or file? I'm sorry. How do you feel about pronoun bungling, pronoun resistance, and general confusion by the cis-normative of us?" It's really kind of a mystery to me why pronouns became such a point of resistance to trans people. I don't know why this, of all things, seemed to be so upsetting to cis people. I mean, I guess I think I think it comes, it's an expression of the sort of gender essentialism programmed into it. Now, programmed into us by the language itself. I mean, I think that it's not something I think about as much as I used to, because it's not so often an issue with me, except like with people in my family who still sometimes struggle to get to say the right pronouns. Like, I don't have trouble when it's with people who don't know anything about me. They have no trouble she/herring me. But if they know that I'm trans, some of them will start having trouble. Which I don't understand. I don't understand it. It's very confusing to me. Why the strangers on the street and waitresses and cab drivers and telemarketers don't seem to have a problem with my pronouns. But yeah, everyone is triggered by ZZR. Is that what it is? I don't know. I mean, I did a whole video about pronouns a couple years ago, and I do think that, like, for people who do they, them, I think it's more of an issue. Where I still see a lot of people who have this take of like, no, like, I refuse to use singular they, them. And I do find that even for myself, like, I'm quite good at using they, them now. It's still a little bit less natural than it is to use he or she. And I think that it's something that kind of violates the rules that you've been taught for English, and at a very basic grammatical level. And so it sort of takes you a while to adjust to the using of they for a specific person. But so I think anything that requires any effort, I think people are generally more willing to be tolerant when toleration requires exactly zero effort from them. If it requires the slightest amount of effort, then they get less interested in being accepting. So I think it basically comes down to that. Another problem I have, and I'm reluctant to talk about this because last time I said anything similar, I got the canceling of a lifetime. But one issue I sometimes have is that when I'm with, like, cis people who are trying to be woke, then they start having trouble again. they know I'm trans. They think they should be saying they them, or they think they should be asking me what my pronouns are, because that's what someone told them the woke thing to do is with trans people. I don't like it, but I understand that it may help other trans people. So it's a kind of access paradox. And it's not something I really will ever complain about again in public. So let's not say another word about it. Andrew Harris says, Dear Natalie, after having FFS and going through recovery, you expressed uncertainty about having further surgery. What are your current feelings? Yours sincerely, one of your many non-binary fans, Andrew/Dorinda. Thank you. There is another surgery that I increasingly want. And I kind of have to balance how badly I want it against the like fear associated with this surgery and the dread of the pain and what if it doesn't go well. I am talking about bottom surgery. I really have been thinking about it a lot lately, but it's a very scary surgery. And I was actually supposed to have a consultation back in April, but I canceled it because back in April I was really not in a mentally good place, and I was kind of like, I don't want to be making decisions or even like hearing the information to make decisions about a major surgery in this state of mind, you know? But I think that not having bottom surgery is like a major obstacle to some things I want to do. I think it is a significant factor in my psychological inability to date cis women. And I think that it would make me happier if it goes well, you know? But it's really scary. So it's just a matter of time, basically waiting for the, you know, unhappiness of my body to outweigh the terror of the surgery. And I don't know. It's I forget where I was going with this. I guess another trouble I have with bottom surgery is that bottom surgery itself, I've been exposed to a lot of shaming of it. And so like I have a lot of like turf brain. I have like a severe case of turf brain. So I also have a lot of negativity around like, I mean, like, content warning for, like, bottom surgery shaming, but, like, you know, oh, like, you're just a castrated male, like, you have a mutilated, you know, bloody wound, blah, 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 like, you've just, you know, it's just a disgusting mutilation, blah, 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 and, like, so it's kind of that, the disgusting, misogynistic act of self-harm versus, you know, the dysphoria around my current body. And like, you know, it sucks because it's like I want to make a decision about surgery, about major surgery, without the influence of this like super toxic shame and judgment, but like I can't because that stuff is so like omnipresent. And oh yeah, I mean, I've seen like if I do have this surgery, by the way, I'm not going to tell anyone I've done it until much later, because I don't want to be like, I mean, I've seen this on Twitter, like or whatever, like a trans woman says she's just had bottom surgery and she gets dogpiled by TERFs, like basically being like, oh, you're just a disgusting, like, ruined, misogynistic person. Like, I can't believe you mutilated yourself in this horrific way. Like, it's like a horrific. Like, I've seen like trans women like bullied by TERFs to the point of like suicidal ideation, like post-op, immediately post-op. So you can't talk about this in public because they will come for you. And obviously at the so and like this, like, it's especially like manipulative, right? Because like if you don't have it, they say, oh, like 80% of trans women are just intact males who won't ever cut their dicks off. And then if you do get the surgery, then they just say you're a mutilated misogynist who thinks that a wound is equivalent to a vagina because you hate women so much. Like, it's, I don't know, it's a lot of negativity. And then there's the whole like, oh, like, am I having this surgery for me or am I having it for other people? It's complicated, right? Because like, I don't know, it's kind of hard for me to like, because I don't know, like on a day-to-day basis, like I just avoid that part of my body, which I'm pretty effective at doing. Like, I used to talk about this stuff way more, but I don't know, I'm just like tucked 24/7 basically, so I just don't deal with it. But like, obviously, like, the one time I do have to deal with it is like if hypothetically I were to have sex with someone, then I would have to deal with it, right? And I think in that situation, like, I don't know, I really would rather have a vagina, even if it is a misogynistic, mutilated vagina. I don't know. So yeah, that I do think about that. That's kind of where I'm at with surgery. Lennox says, this is my first time with this. You're doing great, Gorge. I don't know what to ask, so I'll just say, love what you do and love all that you do, and I love all of you in the chat. Also, while things are bleak, I like to think the younger gen are getting more traction. Thank you, Lennox. I like to think so too. And I think in a lot of ways, they are. Well, inevitably, the younger generations will always, over time, get more traction. That's how time works. Tanya Pinheiro says, hi, Natalie. First, I want to thank you for being instrumental in helping me to realize that despite my mountain's worth of crushing insecurities, oddball behaviors, and somewhat left-of-center opinions, I can be and am a strong woman, transness notwithstanding. All I ask of you this month, you're very welcome, Tanya. All I ask of you this month is to take a portion of this self-love you've helped me discover. Don't worry, sharing it doesn't diminish it in any way. And internalize it for yourself so it can act as an antidote to your own self-doubts and negative talk on your bad days. And lift you up and amplify the good feelings in your good days. Until next month, heart, heart, heart. Thank you, Tanya. That's very sweet. I will do my best. Amelia Maloney says, "Hey Gorge, I finally started HRT last week. I've been seeing online that I'm supposed to let the estradiol tablet dissolve under my tongue, but my doctor didn't say anything. What worked best for you? Also, are there any clothing brands you like for sustainable but cute stuff?" Okay. So, yes, the famous advice to let the estradiol dissolve under your tongue. I've heard this. I heard this many times early in my transition from other trans women who insisted that it was very helpful. Well, I don't really think there's any evidence to support that. And I think that if it were really that much more effective, the doctor would tell you to do it. I have tried it myself, and there's been a couple months when I would actually do it that way, but I literally never do that. Now, like, I do not, it's been years since I dissolved a tablet under my tongue, and it seems to work fine for me, swallowing it. So I really don't think that, I mean, because I really don't think it helps that much. Like, I think that with some drugs, like taking it sublingually will make it work faster. But with hormones, it doesn't matter how fast it works. The point is to have it constantly, at a certain level in your system. So I would say don't worry about dissolving it. Just do what the doctor says, and you'll be good. Clothing brands for sustainable but cute stuff. Well, if sustainability is something you care about, then basically what you want to avoid is getting fast fashion. Because that's just the worst. But a lot of, it's kind of funny because a lot of like luxury brands are actually like more sustainable than fast fashion, but they're really expensive. So, I mean, if sustainability is something you care about, I would suggest like getting into vintage stuff or that kind of thing, because if you have an eye and have like a style like that you like, I mean, you can find like you can get like the cutest looks and in the most sustainable way by getting vintage stuff, but you have to kind of know what you're doing more so if you do that, because you have to have the eye to be able to pick out good items, amid a lot of stuff that you would never want to wear in public. So I don't know, don't beat yourself up too much if you do buy some fast fashion at the beginning. That's my suggestion. Bekar, I think, says, "Hi Natalie, I was wondering if you have any thoughts about bottom surgery for non-binary people, and if it might be worthwhile. Love your videos and thanks for everything you do." Well, I think that it's worthwhile if it's worthwhile to you. I think that I just can't tell you, like, there's no rules about who's allowed to have bottom surgery. Whether it's not only for binary trans people. If it's something that you want and that you've been thinking about and you want it for years, then it's worth looking into. I'm not your therapist. I cannot tell you what to do, but there's no reason why non-binary people could not have bottom surgery now. Thank you. Jessica Morgan says, "I have no questions, only white claws. Congrats in the house." Thank you, Jessica. Lavina Johansson says, "Hi Natalie, just wanted to say congrats on buying a house. Are you still in Baltimore? Does the twisted system of mortgages and amortization/interest seem as fucked up to you as it does to me? You are amazing. Thank you and stay healthy/sane. Thank you, Lavina. Is it Lavina or Lavina? Um, I, yes, it's a very twisted system. I am staying in Baltimore, and despite the high property taxes, I think I'm happy to stay here. I really think that, I know a lot of other people, because the only other places I would go are New York or LA, and it's so much more expensive to live in those places. Like, excuse me. I know people who in LA like make the same amount of money as I do. They get much less for the price of a house than you can get in Baltimore. And that's really true in New York. In New York, like, a house that costs $500,000 in Baltimore would be like 10 million in New York. So I'm a big advocate of living in Baltimore for that reason. I mean, obviously there's reasons, like, there's not the same, it's just not the same living in Baltimore as it is in New York. But my thinking is that, if society ever comes back, I can just take the Amtrak up to New York, once a month, and then do New York things, and then come home to what is, by New York standards, a mansion in Baltimore. So instead of living in a closet in Manhattan or Brooklyn or whatever, which is what I would do if I lived in New York, I need space, god damn it, because I have a lot of stuff at this point, a lot of props and costumes, and New York's just not a good place to be. LA would be a lot better for like collabs, working with other YouTubers, no doubt. But I don't know. Once again, once society reopens, I can go to LA. That is another thing I worry about with Baltimore. Is I'm like, I don't know. It's in some ways it's not the best like dating scene, but I don't know. It's close to DC. It's close to New York, so as long as someone's willing to, put up with what, in my opinion, is a very short amount of distance. Because I'm used to dating people in other countries, so, or visiting people at the very least. So, to me, dating someone in DC or New York is like barely distance at all, and I would be totally willing to do it. But I understand that some other people might not. I don't know. Yeah, that's not really what your question was, but thank you. Definitely not a time traveler says, "Hi Natalie, I'm designing a D&D setting, and I'm working on a religion for a chaotic goddess of madness and debauchery. My problem is that the obvious aesthetics, black marble altars and murder orgies, have become trite. So I guess I'm just looking for new aesthetic inspiration. If Lenora LeVay had a medieval temple, how would she decorate it, and what kind of festivals would she demand? Oh, if that's just asking you to do my homework for me, could you recommend any other sources of inspiration?" Okay, so we're talking about a chaotic goddess of madness and debauchery. Well, you could look, maybe instead of the like gothic stuff, you could look to, I don't know, ancient Greek cults, because like, I don't know, imagery of like the, followers of like Bacchus or whatever. Sorry, Dionysus, it's Greek. I don't know, that might not be what you want to do, but like, you could look to other cultures besides like the like satanic like Christian imagery. madness and debauchery. Sounds like Dionysus to me. So that's definitely a possible source of inspiration. I don't know what else. The other ideas I have are cultural appropriation, which I think I'm sure is entirely fine for a D&D setting. I just don't want to be canceled. Black marble altars. You're looking for non-cliche things? Well, you are asking me to do your homework. You're asking me to be creative and create an original world. What about like absinthe? That's also cliche, but in a different way. What about Art Nouveau? An Art Nouveau cult of madness and debauchery. That's kind of my vision. Rachel Domagalski says, White Claw versus Truly. Also, congrats on the new house. Thank you. I don't know. I like them both. I guess I tend to drink White Claw more. I guess because I don't know why. I had Truly first, so I guess I'm nostalgic about it for that reason. I first had Truly at Lindsay's bachelorette party in Vegas at a pool, and the guy at the bar talked me into buying a bucket of them, which I did, and I liked them. So, I guess Truly, I don't know. They both sure are alcoholic fruit sparkles. JC Van Patten says, Hi Natalie, you're a champ. I'm a gay man that doesn't know much about transgender people and made some mistakes at work regarding trans coworkers. So my question is, at what age do trans people know that they are trans? I heard some trans people discover that very late in their lives. Love you, girl. You're a hero. If there are any typos or misspellings, please forgive me. I'm a bit tipsy. LOL. And writing in a second language. You're doing great, Gorge. What age? So it's honestly like, it's a pretty diverse, like trans people have like not a lot in common with each other. I mean, this is like something I think about all the time. Like, it seems like there's like, I don't know. It seems like there's so much variation among trans people about all kinds of things. Like, I genuinely believe that people transition for a lot of different reasons. Like, I mean, obviously, like the common denominator, right, is that like people transition because they, you know, they want to live as a different gender as the one they were assigned at birth, obviously. But I think that the set of experiences that leads you up to that point actually varies pretty widely. So I would say that lashes are not really working for me. I would say that a lot of trans people know at age like 4 or 5. Some trans people, yeah, they don't really figure it out until like later in life. I personally, you know, it was just kind of a thing that slowly grew and grew and grew until it reached this like deafening volume where I really didn't want to transition for a long time, because I think I'm a person who I try to kind of like blend in to the extent that I can in certain ways. And so, you know, it was easier for me to not transition, especially as someone who's attracted to women. That really is a major issue for me. Like, that was a major thing. It delayed my transition, I think, for a long time. And then when I finally did transition, I was just straight up in denial about it. I was like, actually, I like men now. Just kidding. I just really, I don't know. This is not the question you asked. This is just me rambling. But I think, like, I don't know. There's a lot of different kinds of trans people. And, like, sometimes that's been sometimes, like, to be honest with you, sometimes I've had trouble grappling with that. Like, I don't necessarily understand other trans people's experiences. And sometimes it's led me to be like, how are you trans? Like, I don't understand this. Like, I don't recognize it as being trans in the same way that I am trans. But I think that ultimately, like, different people have different experiences of gender, and it's just not my business if other people are doing it in a way that doesn't make sense to me. Pinterest is trying to send me notifications. Zoe Laura Meyer says, hey Nat, I know someone already asked this, but I don't want to search through all the old streams, so where do you search for clothes, in particular secondhand? Poshmark is probably my #1 place for secondhand clothes these days. Other sources are a website called ThreadUp, which is also an easy way to sell old clothes, and I use it for that because they will do all the like selling and shipping for you. So even if you make less money, to me it's worth it to save time. And the other, honestly, like sometimes you can get good stuff on eBay. That's very old school. eBay. I remember my dad using eBay when I was a kid. But I will go on eBay. Like, if you want, like, I don't know, a vintage handbag or something, you can honestly get stuff like that on eBay. It's worth a look. Thank you, Zoe. Bibis Babbit says, hi, Natalie. It seems that we as a society are going to have to continue the discourse on cancel culture. What do you think of a video that analyzes what it is for society to progress and to give people the space to grow? To be politically engaged millennial is to have had, to be a politically, can't say words. To be a politically engaged millennial is to have had our own cringy epic atheist phase. And I'm sure there will be more than a few aspects of our current current social discourse we will later view as cringe, oh no doubt. How do we allow people to be forgiven if they've genuinely moved on? Yeah, well, this is definitely a topic that I'm going to kind of return to in one form or another in future videos. And how do we allow people to be forgiven if they've moved on? Well, I mean, here's the thing. Like, in my opinion, like, Twitter is just hopeless, right? Like, Twitter is just, it's angrybirds.com. There's no point in trying to reform it. It just needs to be destroyed. But, like, I think that when I'm trying to decide what to use my precious minutes of my life to be angry about, you know, I try to pay attention to, like, what is to be gained from someone's past sins being exposed. If we're talking about tweets from 10 years ago, there are obviously things that don't really line up with what the person currently believes. I think that's just fucking bullshit. It's not even worth talking about. But, you know, when it's something more contemporary, like, you know, I think it's fair to expect someone to change before they're forgiven. But I do think that, you know, well, we sort of have two things at once, right? We have, like, a culture that a lot of, like, very, you know, abusive or bigoted or whatever people have a lot of power. And at the same time, our reaction to people who do or say bad things often also is like so fucking retributivist and just vengeance, basically. So I think that, it's hard for me to say exactly what we should do, because I don't know, I feel like I'm not able to speak to any kind of we. I mean, to me, like, cancel culture is just next to useless. It's like, it's just such a source of negativity, and it's terrifying to me. It's just terrifying. Like, it keeps me off the internet. It keeps me from saying things. It keeps me from. I basically just don't say opinions if I can avoid it, because it's just not worth it. It's not worth the risk, the constant fear, the suspicion, the way that people in this industry like are constantly screenshotting each other's texts and like keeping lists of receipts. I can't tell you the number of times I've had a conversation with another, journalist or creator or whatever, and like we had the same conversation about mutually assured destruction, because we have dirt on each other now, and so we can trust each other not to go to Twitter with the public shaming, because we could retaliate. Like, the paranoia and the distrust and the snitching on each other, and the like it's just so ugly and so awful. I don't know. Okay. I absolutely agree with you that I think this will 100% be. It will 100% be something that we look back on as a major error of our generation. It will be like seen as the way like edgy atheism from 10 years ago is seen. Yeah, absolutely. Chris Minturn Morgan says, do you have any words of advice or researches regarding Compet, aside from the Master Dog? Thanks, Natalie. Hope you're well. And yay, House. Thank you. Words of advice or resources regarding Compet. Well, I don't really have any ideas about resources. In fact, even the Master Doc, I don't know. I've been told not to direct people. I've been told not to direct people to that subreddit, the Compet subreddit, because it's like TERFs. Although the Master Doc itself is trans inclusive, so I'm kind of confused about that. But do I have any words of advice about Compet? Well, I'm kind of at a point where I still feel like I need advice for myself about this, but I will say that, like, something that's been helpful to me has been reading, like, I don't know, I'll even find like other threads by lesbians on Twitter about like feeling that sort of speak to some of my feelings about this, because I'm really kind of struggling with like feeling like de-womaned by my sexuality, and just feeling like just not a man, not a woman, just like not any socially recognizable just like this like in between thing that just can't be categorized and can never be accepted. You know what I mean? Like I do feel that my sexuality basically invalidates my womanhood. I feel like there's a practical problem for me of I don't even know how to express my own sexuality in a way that I don't feel kind of like masculinizes or degenders me. And to me, it's been helpful to at least know that I'm not the only gay woman who has this problem or who has these feelings or experiences. That hasn't helped me get out of it. Like, I still am, this is still very much an active struggle with me. But it's like good to know that it's like not just me. You know what I mean? And I assume that eventually I will figure it out. It's a lot to go. It's like a lot to deal with. Cause like, I don't know. I have these experiences all the time where I'm like, I mostly have just like in the last 3 years anyway. I've mostly just like, honestly, mostly just like repressed my attraction to women, and like, or just like tried to shove it down. You know what I mean? Because I just sort of don't know what to do with it. But it doesn't really work in the long run. I don't know. It's like not something that, especially with like a true, like, I feel like there's not a lot of stuff I can really relate to from like other trans lesbians even. Because there's a lot of like, I don't know, a lot of trans women who are attracted to women I kind of don't relate to, or they have very different experiences to me. Like, there's a lot of like, I don't know, I've seen a lot of talk from like trans women who are still dating a woman who they started dating before they transitioned. That's not useful to me because that's never going to be my experience, you know, because my issue is I need to date as a trans woman now from the beginning. And I sort of don't know. I don't really understand where I fit in, if I fit in at all, to like women who love women dating or social groups or whatever. I mean, by basically, I guess I don't fit in at all. But I don't know. I could try. It's hard because I finally was publicly honest about this in February of this year for the first time. And then immediately COVID happened. So I just am trapped in limbo is how it feels. Kylan Conrad says, "Hi Natalie, sending good vibes your way with everything you do with your new house. Thank you. It's my good friend's birthday next week, and I was wondering if you could wish her a happy birthday. I've recently indoctrinated her into your fan base, and I think she'd love it. She's a huge gamer tran, and her name is Madison. Thanks a lot. Sure. Hey Madison. Hey Gorge. Happy birthday, Gorge. I hope that you get a lot of head pats. You get a lot of head pats, yeah. Happy birthday, Uwu. Cheers. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm a crazy person. True Olivia says, "Do you like any soapy TV dramas? We've been watching Gossip Girl. It's so ridiculous and we can't stop watching it." Gosh, have I been watching any TV dramas? Not really. Do I like any? Well, the L Word. I watched a lot of that back in December. That's soapy. What else? Pose. Pose is soapy. I liked that, but it's really depressing. Everyone tells me to watch you. I still haven't watched Euphoria. I guess I'm not actually gay. I'm in a group chat called Gossip Girl, but I haven't actually watched it. I should watch it so I can better appreciate the group chat. Okay. PJ Log says, "Ahoy, thank you for taking the time to do the Q&A and hope you're well." Thank you. I appreciate this content during the quarantine. What do you think about the TikTok witches hexing the moon / the Fae scandal? Okay. I'm gonna have to look this one up. Fae scandal. Okay. TikTok witches hexing the moon. Why are people angry at witches on TikTok? Rolling Stone. What? On Witch Talk. Baby witches hexed the moon. Okay. According to a thread on the subreddit r/witchcraft, part of why witches were so enraged is because this group of witches had previously claimed they were going to hex the Fae, or earth spirits, that have magical or supernatural powers, that will, quote, most likely hex you back and are probably more powerful than you. It sounds pretty fucked up. I don't know. Yeah, I would say that if you could hex anyone, please hex Donald Trump. I don't know why every witch in the world is not currently engaged in hexing Donald Trump, to be honest. What did the moon ever do? I guess I'm joining the anti-witch talk. Don't hex the moon crowd. And that's my take. Arbez204 says, "Hey, this is my first question on Patreon, so I hope it makes sense. I want to enter politics later in my life as a career path, mainly for climate change and environmental action. Because of that, my question is, do you have advice on how to balance philosophy and politics? I want to have a consistent philosophy behind my policy, but I don't want to be so obsessed with it that I lose focus on the real world and actual effects of my policy." Well, I think it's good to kind of keep, to sort of keep conceptual distinction between your philosophy and your politics, because with philosophy you're sort of clarifying what you think your goals are, what you think a good world looks like, your general principles for how you think that you should act. Politics is about getting things done in a particular situation. So that means that philosophical purity is not really an option. And so you need to be able to develop two different ways of thinking. And that when you go to policy, what you're trying to do is is ask what is the most good I can realistically do in this situation, and then try to do that. It's a very different kind of thinking from what conceptually is the right thing to do. And it's important to be able to have both kinds of thinking. So I hope you do go into politics, because I wish there were more people with power who were capable of thinking in both of these ways. So good luck. Maybe someone already hacks the moon. Yeah. Matthew Rice says, can you put cat ears on? Ooh, please. Fine. Yeah. This is cursed. This is cursed. We've only got a few questions left, which is why I'm doing this. April Payne says, boo. Well, let me know if you get a chance to check them out. Parlor Birds is one of my obsessions, and it would give me a thrill to imagine you listening. Are you familiar with Jaya and her concept of the erotic blueprint? Wait, was this question from before about Parlor Birds? And I said I don't know them. I'm not familiar with Jaya and her concept of the erotic blueprint. The chat is going ooh crazy. Jaya, erotic blueprint. I see YouTube videos. Jaya's 5 erotic blueprints. Your path to sexual mastery. Well, that sounds like a fast undertaking, but thank you for the suggestion. After the stream, I will uncover my path to sexual mastery. No doubt, no doubt. Thank you, April. Flavor is violence. Says, speaking of cats, have you watched any cat/kitten live streams in quarantine? My favorite is a shelter called Tiny Kittens. They take in a lot of injured, pregnant, or nursing feral cats, give them medical care, and socialize them for adoption. They run 2 24/7 kitten live streams on YouTube. I find very soothing. Oh my god. Better than therapy, IMO. Alright, this guy's getting another tab next to the erotic blueprints. Oh my god. Live kitten streams. Oh wow. Yeah, I'm gonna watch this. I'm gonna watch a lot of this later. Oh, this is so cute. Oh no. Do I need to get kittens? I think I maybe need to get kittens. Crispy says, hi Natalie, what's up? Not much. Just doing a cat stream. Yeah. BioGirl. BioGirl XX420. Ah, I'm drooling. Great. BioGirl XX420 says, this isn't a question, but I need you to tell someone that Jermaine Greer was on Big Brother Season 3 and left crying after 6 days because it sent me. Are you fucking kidding me? I had no idea about this. Hold on. Jermaine Greer. Why would she do that? Oh my god. She was a housemate on Celebrity Big Brother 3. Oh, we have to do that later. I'll add it to the list next to the kitten streams and the erotic blueprints. She was the first contestant ever to walk out. Oh my god. This is coconuts. Thank you for sharing this with me, Bio Girl. Laura M. and Voscat say, "Hi Natalie, we're new here. So we think performativity theory makes many good points, but doesn't account for our psychological need to perform certain identities instead of others. Thoughts on that? Thank you and stay gorgeous, as you always have." Oh, thank you. Okay. Yeah, I think this is a reason a lot of trans people don't like performativity theory, is that it says what gender is, but it doesn't say why. And to a lot of trans people, that, you know, it's super important to them to make their identity not seem like a frivolous decision. And so a lot of trans people actually are drawn to more like essentialist kind of views of, you know, why they are their gender. And my ears are a little bit floppy. There you go. There's a couple ways. I mean, there's a couple, like, I don't think that our psychological need to perform certain identities. Well, I think that, you know, as someone who is sympathetic to the performativity kind of theory, I will say that, I mean, the way I kind of make sense of it is like, look, most people will perform their gender because they're taught to, right? And so people generally learn gender the way they learn everything else, the way they learn language. It's imitation, it's iteration, it's instruction, it's punishment. And I think that, you know, with trans people, that there's a kind of question mark, because it's like, okay, well then why is there this population of people who are performing a different gender than the one they were socialized to perform? Well, I think that everyone is socialized with some knowledge of, you know, what it is to be a woman, what it is to be a man. And so I think there, you know, like there's a psychology beyond what is performative, right? Like I'm not someone who has like a single theory of the mind, right? Like I think that, you know, it's like a psychobiosocial model, as they call it in psychology, right? Is saying that, like, in explaining any given thing, you need to take into consideration biological, psychological, and social factors. So, you know, I don't know why people are trans, but for the people who have some kind of disposition to, you know, because obviously there is a biological component to gender too. People who have a disposition to identify with a different gender, to behave in ways that are socially considered expressions of a different gender, you know, they could. I'm not really answering your question, Holly. Your question was, you know, it doesn't account. You think it doesn't account. Well, I guess what I would say is that I don't think that performativity theory needs to account for that, because I would say that I don't view performativity theory as like a end all be all theory that completely and totally explains what gender is and how it works. I think that it explains, if anything, like the meaning, the social meaning of gender. But there may be, you know, there may be biological things as well. It's not just about, gender is more than just social meaning, right? There may be psychological things as well. To me, performativity is more about, I guess, meaning than it is about ontology. Like, It's not about necessarily, I don't know. I don't really believe in it. Yeah, I don't really believe in a total, like, big comprehensive theory of gender or of anything really. I think that I actually find that performativity gives it, the reason I guess I'm attracted to it in part is that it gives me the way that makes the most sense to explain the sense in which I am the gender I claim to be. And that sense is that it's in a social sense. It's in, it's in the sense of the meaning of my presentation. And I think that, that's not going to be meaningful to people who experience gender in a kind of like trapped inside the wrong body, living the wrong life kind of way, right? Like they are going to experience it in a more as a pure psychological thing. But that's kind of not where I'm at in life. And in a way, it's never really been where I'm at in life. So I think that to me, my experience of gender is very tied up with how I present and how I socialize. And that's just kind of an individual variation and experience that makes a performativity type explanation more useful to me as an explanatory tool. But to other people, it wouldn't necessarily be as useful. I hope that's at least a semi-adequate answer to what you're saying. Anyway, that is the last question. Let me refresh just in case there's more. There's two more. Tara Liederman says, "Hi Natalie, excited to hear about your house. We're in the beginnings of escrow and it's crazy. Good luck." I know how that goes. My question, I really love the little references to Adria's channel Intersectional AF. Wow, it's been a long time since I thought about that. Have you considered using that and her character to explore more intersectional feminism in its online discourse? I think one reason that I have tended not to talk about that sort of topic lately in the last couple of years is that it's kind of had a lower profile in the discourse. Like feminism has had a much lower profile in the discourse than it had 4 years ago. 4 years ago, it seemed like feminism was the only thing anyone was talking about, and on YouTube, mostly it was just like the villain, right? It was like people complaining about feminism. But I do think that it's only a matter of time before there is a comeback where feminism becomes a major topic again. I'm not exactly sure how it's going to happen, but I don't know. It's something that I would like to talk about. I don't know if I would necessarily do it through that character, because I think I'd likely want to do it in a new way. But I do want to return to the subject matter 100%. Paul 1 million says, am I counting zeros correctly? Yes. Hi Natalie, congrats for making it this far. Thank you. My question, let's talk about Huxley's Brave New World. I know freedom and such things, but would you think it would be good for America and most of the people in it if such a state came into play tomorrow? What to value more, happiness or freedom? Big brain energy to end this stream with a banger. Sending love as always. Yes. Well, okay. Let me think how I want to answer this. Because it's not just Huxley. Like, a lot of people have concerned themselves with this type of question, right? Like, Dostoevsky is largely about this as well, right? Like, a kind of like anti-utilitarianism where you argue that, like, oh, like, human beings don't really want to be happy. We want to be free. Yeah, I do think, okay. I'm like, this is a lot, Paul. I'm like 3 hours into a stream. You're asking me to answer the questions about human freedom and happiness. Um, I guess I think that I do think that in like the kind of Brave New World scenario, there's a vision of happiness that is kind of dictated from the top down. And I think anytime you try to do that, people will resent it. Like I do think that people like feeling not just like they're happy, but I mean, I think that the point is taken, right? Like that people do like to feel in control of their own destiny, right? And so if people feel that they are the sort of recipients of kind of a parental utilitarian, you know, happiness mandate, they will insurrect against it. I do think also that like people don't in fact act in rational self-interest a lot of time. People don't pursue happiness. There's a lot of other motivations behind human actions that realistically keep us from acting like utilitarian thinking agents. And this would be a lot more interesting if I had an example. Well, I mean, to take from the topic that I've been thinking about a lot lately, think about punishment, right? Like, there's a desire that people have to punish wrongdoers that exists way outside of a utilitarian logic, right? Regardless of whether it makes the world better, people have a strong desire to punish people who do bad things. And I don't know, maybe that can be re-educated out of us, or we can all go on soma trips and it'll be fine. But I suspect that kind of thing is going to be more tenacious than utilitarian thinking hopes. I don't think I really successfully solved the problems of freedom and happiness in this stream, but we tried, and we are wearing cat ears, so I hope that at least compensates for the philosophical deficiencies. I don't know what to do with these little wispy hairs. That is the end of the questions. The cat ears. Yeah. That's the stream. I guess, what am I gonna do with myself now? I guess I should work. I don't really feel like working on the video right now though. I'm tired. I wanna play Zelda or something. I guess I could do a Pokemon stream, but I think I'm done streaming for a while. I need to rest my voice. I don't know, maybe I'll cuddle up on the couch and play Zelda or something. Or maybe I'll drink 3 glasses of cold water and splash some water on my face and sit down to work on the video. Yeah, maybe I'll play the piano. That'll be nice. I watched Jermaine Greer on Big Brother. Perfect. Alright. Have a good night, you guys. Thanks for stopping by. Or whatever. I never say that. Why did I say that? What am I, a news anchor? Is that like Veronica Corningstone says an anchorman? Thanks for stopping by. also stay classy. Okay.